For the 28 years of my existence, I often hear the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Have you guys ever wondered why of all fruits, why apples? Well, apple does have a good claim to promote good health, with vitamin C to boost your immune system and phenols to reduce cholesterol. But what if I tell you these fruits aren't the same compared to how it's grown from years ago? If this apple is eaten long term, can cause allergies, hepatic, pancreatic cancer, or any organ damage, would you still eat it? Would you still offer it to your family? For the past week of doing research of how crops are grown nowadays, I began to ask myself if the food I'm offering to my family is safe, because I sure don't want to be the cause of their sickness or neither shorten their lives. We are here tonight to know about what genetically modified or engineered foods are, or what we call GMO, why it's bad for you, and why we should put an end to it. According to non-GMOproject.org, it's an organism that had a DNA modified through genetic engineering in laboratories. This is where they put a gene from an organism and putting it to another to make crops naturally resistant to pests, weeds, meaning less resistant to pesticide and herbicides, and also to tolerate various climate change and be less reliant to fertilizers. Now you're probably wondering what FDA is doing about this. According to FDA, it's the responsibility to ensure that foods under purview meet applicable safety labeling and other statutory and regulatory requirements. How do I know if these GA plants and animals are meeting the same requirements? Under the Federal Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, it only requires additional labeling in these foods if there's a material difference. But why is it still not labeled? According to Center for Food Safety, and currently 64 countries around the world require labeling of GMO, but sadly USA is not included. Why? Because it takes a lot of money and time. Why should we feel strongly about labeling? Let me show you the health risk and environmental risk of GMOs. It's dangerous to Earth. The result is genetically engineered super weeds and super pests, and it's already spreading the US farm field. 50% of American farmers are battling this problem already, and they're forced to use a much stronger and a larger amount of pesticides and herbicides in our food. This has been linked also to mass killing of bees, which threatens about 70% of US food supply in fruits of vegetables that rely on pollination. No pollination means no fruits and vegetables. European Green Party and Greenpeace suggested that GM food also triggers food allergies. With these genes being mixed up, what else? Who knows what else is in it? Same as antibiotic and viruses gene injected to foods, human can also develop immunity to this. With all the diseases and infections, it will be harder to treat in the future because we will be more resistant to medicines. Also, Dr. Gilles Eric Serolani of Caen University in France did a study on laboratory rats being fed with genetically engineered corn, and it was published in the Food and Chemical Toxicology Journal. And the result to it is the rat suffering severe organ damage, including kidney and liver damage. This picture alone is very alarming, doesn't it? I want you guys to imagine these effects on human being. What actions we can do to put an end to it and to totally eradicate GMO in our diet. Let's go over the solution to this problem. Spread the word, go on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat, whatever it may be. Educate your friends and family and let them know about it. And make it a habit to check labels. This is an example of the labels you should look for when you're going to your grocery shopping. And finally, vote for Proposition 37. What is Proposition 37? A mandatory labeling of GE foods in our state. It was initiated back in 2012 by James Wheaton, and we call it the California Right to Know GE Food Act. Unfortunately, it was defeated by 51.4% of votes. But if we think about it, if all of us here vote for Proposition 37, we could make a difference. With all this being said, at the end of the day, we still decide what to do with our body. We just need to remember that what we consume now and how we take care of our body will reflect on our future's health. Labeling may take some time and money, but we still have the right to know to identify what we're putting in our body. After knowing what GMO can potentially do to us, to our loved ones, and seeing a clear picture of what it can do to our environment, I encourage you to take an action now before it's too late. Let us help each other in supporting non-GMO products and use the power of what we call word of mouth.